Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile, I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Project number 1. Remember all the fun stuff I got at the auction in April? Well, here's more. No one else bid on this set of 5 flashlights, so I got them for $1. These 2 in the back are what I'm going to work on. They were filthy, so my sweet husband cleaned them up for me. I do not have any film of that, but look how nice he got them to look. And he cleaned out the insides. We don't have any D batteries to test them with, but he thinks they will work. This was one of those super easy projects that gave such a big bang, and St. Germain from IOD is what helped with that. I had lots of little scraps left from a lot of projects I've done in the past week since I got this, and oh my gosh, I love it so much. I decided to cut them out so that they would kind of look like they were going around the on and off switch. I had to cut off a limb or 2, and then I just put them back on in different places. Applying these transfers is super easy. Just make sure you start with a clean, dry surface and simply place the transfer on your object exactly where you want it. Give it a good little rub with your hand just to give it that initial stick. Then use that little plastic stick that comes with every IOD package. It's called a transfer stick, and use the flat end of that to rub the entire top of the surface of your transfer. Next, use your other hand to gently pull up one corner of the transfer as you continue rubbing with your transfer stick. If any comes up, just lay it back down and rub again. It should come off. When you're completely finished and the transfer has released from the carrier sheet, use that carrier sheet to rub the surface of the transfer. That just makes sure all the little tiny pieces are stuck to your item. I did this with, I think I used 3 different scraps I had left over. When I was satisfied with how it looked, I took it outside and gave it one good coat of Rust-Oleum 2 times clear sealer in gloss. And here is what this flashlight looked like when I was done. Project number 2. Here comes another one, a lot like the other one. This flashlight is unlike any I've ever seen. It doesn't spread out at the top. I don't know if that makes sense, but where the light bulb is and the glass that covers it, it's just the same size as the rest of the flashlight. It's super cool. I thought about keeping it, but I kind of feel like I might be selfish if I do that, because someone else is going to go absolutely crazy over this cute little antique flashlight. I'm not going to explain how I did this because it's, like I said, just like the other one. So I will just play some music while you watch me apply the St. Germain floral transfers. project number 3. Y'all have heard me talk a lot about how blessed I am with this business. Well, my friend Sherry is one of the gifts that I am so thankful for. And I met her through this business. I'm going to be using Debi's Design Diary paint in the color Black Velvet, IOD's ink in the color Mixing White, and I'm putting that in one of IOD's ink pads. And I'm going to decorate these fabulous frames that Sherry gave me. After removing everything from the frames, I used the backing, which is made of cardboard, and painted each of them with one coat of Debi's DIY Black Velvet. Right here, I'm just showing you how easy it is to get your ink into your ink pad. These pads are great. The lids are really tight, so they don't dry out very easily. This is the stamp I'm working with. It's from the new IOD release, and it's called Waltz. Before you use your stamps the first time, you need to lightly go over them with 220 grit sandpaper. That just makes it so that the ink soaks into them a little bit better. I laid the stamps down with the stamp side up and then applied the ink on top. And pretty soon, I'm not going to be able to tell y'all I'm not very good of a stamper, because guess what? I am not ashamed to say I did a really good job on this. When you apply your stamps, you put one hand down to hold it really firmly, and then you use your other hand to rub all over the surface of where the ink is. And then you just switch. You hold it down with your other hand and rub with the first hand. And y'all look how good it is! Ah! I couldn't believe it. I kind of squealed a lot when I was doing this project because I was just so pleased with myself. I'm doing the pictures in a landscape version. I want it to look like they're going all the way across all 3 pictures with the same song. Before I did this, however, I made sure that I had exact placement ideas of how I wanted this song to go. So I made sure that I used the left-hand side that looked like the beginning of each line, and then I did kind of a middle section, and then I did the right-hand side. You probably will understand that better by watching me and not listening to the words coming out of my mouth. I'm going to hold them all up so you can see what I mean about having the song go all the way across, and I think I did pretty good. It could be a little bit more in line, but it'll be fine when all the stuff is on them and they're in the frames. For the next step, I'm using this beautiful new IOD transfer book called Menagerie, and it is exactly what it says. It's a menagerie of florals, birds, and bird cages. I feel like I have to over-explain this next part, or it's not over-explaining to me, but I feel like some people will think it's over-explaining, like I'm doing something because I have OCD. I don't have OCD, I just don't like the way some things look. And I want them to look the right way. So here's my problem. I don't want to put these flowers down and then put the bird cage over it and have the bird cage look like the whole thing is on top of the flowers. Because when you look through a bird cage, you can see the front wires and you can see the back wires. If there's something in the bird cage, you can't see the back wires. I mean, that's logical. So I want it to look like that. Now, how I did it turned out pretty good. I would change a couple of things. I will tell you about those things as I'm working on it. Right now, I am cutting out the 2 flowers that I want to look like they are in this bird cage. So I trimmed them really close to the edge of the floral, and I'm using a marker to go around them on top of the carrier sheet that the bird cage transfer is on. I did this really loosely just to give me an idea of where the floral will be, because it doesn't have to be exact, because when I lay these down, I can't lay them down and have them stick together and then move them. So it just has to be a pretty good idea. Now that I have a general idea of where the flowers will be inside the bird cage, I can start cutting. I'm cutting the pieces of the bird cage that would not be noticeable if that floral arrangement was really inside the bird cage. So any pieces from the back that you can see from the front without anything in it are going to be gone if the flower would cover them up in real life. This is such a dichotomy because I feel like I am over-explaining, but at the same time, I feel like if I don't say all of these words, then you won't have any clue what I'm doing. Anyways, This is one part I wish I would have done different. I should have put it down on a really sturdy surface with a cutting mat on it and used a razor knife. That would have been a lot easier. I didn't have access to anything like that though. So I guess this is a lesson in if Heather can do it on a piece of cardboard on her living room ottoman, then you can too. Okay, I'm gonna pause this so you can see what I did here. Right in where this circle is, that's the back of the ring that goes around the top of the bird cage where all of the wires that come down attach. If the flowers were inside, you wouldn't be able to see those, so they have to go. And here I'm showing you, there's a little tiny wire right there. That one is one, you just have to kind of figure out which one goes on the back and which one goes on the front, because you would kind of think that it depends on their width. It doesn't. On these old bird cages, the IOD team is really good at reproducing images to look just like they did back in the day. When you look at old bird cages, the gauge of the wire, that's the thickness, it's not always the same. So you might have a really skinny wire and a wide wire. It depends on, you know, where it's at in the bird cage, or if it was replaced, or if it's a place where a door is going to be hinged upon it. All different reasons that it could be like that. I keep forgetting to watch what I'm doing while I'm talking, so I'm kind of getting away from the whole process. I put the first flower down and I'm going to put the second flower on top of it. In between all of this placement, every once in a while, I put the bird cage on top of this to see where it's going to lie, just to make sure it's in the exact right place. You might think you could leave the protective wax paper on the back so that it wouldn't stick to the flower when you put the bird cage down to see if it's in the right place, but you can't because it's not see-through. You have to be able to see where the bird cage is going. So if you do it this way, just be careful not to have your transfers stick together, because there's no way to fix that. They're ruined once that happens. If you don't want to do it this way, there is absolutely nothing wrong with putting the flowers down and putting the bird cage over it as it comes in the package. It would be beautiful and probably nobody would notice it unless they have OCD or they're like me. And I'm just praying there's not a lot of other me's out there. I'm just saying, a little bit of Heather goes a very long way. Alrighty then, we're ready to put the bird cage down on top of the florals. There's just a few places where I missed cutting out some that shouldn't be over the top of the flower. So I'm cutting those out. And it's okay if you cut too much, because you can actually just put it back down. So if you have a big blank spot on front of the flower where there's supposed to be a wire, you can just put one down. And I did that with several different ones of these. I had kind of went too high or too low and totally fixed it. The only other thing I probably would have done differently, and this might sound a little bit more OCD adjacent. I mean, you're probably thinking by this point, man, this chick is like the Adrian Monk. I can totally beat that dude at this game. But back to what I would have changed if I did this again. I would have cut all of the plastic out between every single wire. I don't like where the plastic is between the pieces of wire can still be seen. I mean, I don't know if it's plastic, whatever the sticky stuff is that the transfers are made of. There's parts where there's no picture and that sticky stuff is still there. So it almost looks like there's a residue between some of the wires. It's not that noticeable. You have to really look for it to see it, unless maybe, you know, you're like a person who does transfers a lot and you just know it's there, then you're going to notice it. But this is not anything I would be ashamed to sell. When you put it in the frame and cover it with a piece of glass, it's kind of hard to tell because the glass is shiny. So now that I'm way over my word quota for this project, I'm just going to let you watch the rest of it. You'll see in the next two pictures, I did take some flowers off of the limbs, and I cut some of the limbs to make them cover more of the page, or just to go at the right angle so that I could place the bird's foot over the limb like they are holding onto the limb and not just sitting in front of the limb, because I think we've pretty much covered why I don't want it to look like it's just sitting there, right? Okay, so enjoy the rest of this project and I will see you at the end. I have never found a better glass cleaner than Sprayway because I don't use very much of it. It doesn't cost much and it doesn't leave any streaks. Also, it gets off all the gunk really easy. So like when you buy pictures at Goodwill and they have that sticker on them, then the gunk stays on it, you can get it off really easy with Sprayway. I'll leave an Amazon link for that in the description, but you might be able to find it at a better price at places like Walmart. We found this point driver on Amazon, and it is awesome if you want to replace pictures in frames like you get at Goodwill or the other thrift stores or your friend Sherry. But I ran out of points while I was using this, and I don't have any more. So you can just go find one of my videos where I show y'all how to replace pictures in frames, and that will show you all about it. You should also know that I use this ramboard tape on the edges, and if I can't use the paper that came with the picture originally, or if there wasn't any, I use craft paper like this. You can get the cheap stuff at Dollar Tree, but you can also find thick craft paper at places like Lowe's. So just imagine how great the backs of these pictures look while you are checking out how good they look from the front. Project number 4. Get ready for more controversy. Y'all know I love paint inlays and I want to put them on all of the things. One of my favorite things to put them on is old metal. I use Rust-Oleum 2x clear in matte finish. One of the great things about paint inlays is you can use them like 2 to 4 times. Each time they get a little bit more faded, so it makes their value a little bit better. When you do this, you cannot use them again. I love the effect it makes, but it is a one and done. I cannot reuse them after that, so be forewarned. For this project, I'm using the new Iron Orchid Design paint inlay called Ditzy Blooms. I'm using only a piece of the floral sheet and it will go only on the top of my little metal cash box. I used a wire brush to clean off all the rust and then I washed the whole cash box. I cut a piece of paint inlay to fit on the top and I sprayed the top with the clear and immediately put that paint inlay down with the paint side facing down. Next, I sprayed it with water and I rubbed that water into the paper and then I set it aside and I let it dry until it was all the way dry. I've done this before and only let it dry until it was tacky, but I wanted to see how it would work if it dried all the way. So at that point, I sprayed it again and I let it sit for about 30 seconds. I rubbed that paper towel over the water because there was a lot of Rust-Oleum in that paper and I wasn't sure the water was getting into it. The paper has to be completely wet or it will pull your paint inlay away from your project and it will be like you didn't even put any paint on it at all. Please understand this project is not for the faint of heart. If you feel like you're ruining your paint inlay if you can't use it more than once, or if you don't want something super distressed and you want all of the paint from the paint inlay to go onto your project, don't do this. This is going to put very little of the paint inlay onto my little box, and that's good because I want it to look like that paint inlay is as old as the box. One thing I didn't know before I did this particular project was that where the paint had come up, the original paint from the box had come up over years, where I cleaned off the rust, the paint inlay didn't stick to that raw metal at all. Well, I mean, it's not really raw metal because it's the Rust-Oleum, but remember I put it on when the Rust-Oleum was wet. I suppose had I let the Rust-Oleum dry and then done another coat of Rust-Oleum, then the paint inlay would have stuck to that part where it's raw metal. However, I like how this turned out. I love looking at that raw part with no flowers compared to the parts where there's like an entire flower that worked out, or maybe even just a third of a flower. It's different over the whole entire lid. In no place are any of those flowers the same. And I feel like that's what this box would have looked like if someone hand painted it the day they bought it new at the store. When it was finished, I sprayed the entire box with another coat of the clear matte Rust-Oleum. I let it dry and then I sprayed it again. The reason I did it twice is because I want to keep the patina of the rust that was originally there that I didn't brush off, but I don't want that rust to come off on somebody's clothing or their countertop, wherever they might keep this. And that was it. I was done. So tell me, don't you love this? It's okay if you don't, but I really do. Project number 5. For this project, I'm using the collaboration paint called Cottage Color from Debi's DIY and Jamie Ray Vintage. The color I'm using is Americana. This is a 3-in-1 paint that includes the base, the paint, and the top coat. You have to mix it very well, and I like to use my handheld blender for that, or this rechargeable milk frother I found on Amazon. I will leave a link for both of those in the description. Anything you buy from Amazon by using my link to get there, they will give me a small compensation, but won't raise your price. This is a little container that I made to put in my pantry. It seems little, it's not. It was so bulky, it took up a lot of room, and I actually couldn't get as much stuff in my pantry as I could without it. So here we are. I'm putting this on raw wood, and I only did one thick coat. There were a few places I could tell the paint was going to be kind of thin, so before it dried, I just went back and put a little bit more paint in those places. When it's mixed well, this stuff is like magic. This new Iron Orchid Design transfer book is so fun. It's kind of a kitschy transfer book full of things that you want to put on stuff that's on your kitchen counter. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to put on it first, but I decided on the word treats from this page. And from the first page in the book, I'm going to use this frame. Now it doesn't fit, and I want you to notice that the top and one side are dark and the bottom and the other side are light. That's because if it were on the wall and the sun was hitting it, that's how it would look in real life. I'm going to start by cutting out the entire frame. You'll notice at the corners I use a mitered cut. That's a slanted cut, and a mitered corner is when they put the two sides, the top and the side, together at a slant, and it's called mitered. It's like a triangular slant at each corner. Next, I laid down each long piece along the top and the bottom, and I added their coordinating side piece that I had cut before I figured out how tall I wanted it to be. I needed to make sure that it fit so that every edge met at each mitered corner. Again, with my words, y'all. I'm good at using words, just not good at putting them in the order in which people understand them better. So watch what I'm doing. Okay? I don't know why I left this part in there. I was trying to give you a thumbs up and I couldn't figure out what position would look best, so that's what it is. When I started with the first piece, I kept the backing on it while I lifted up half of it and pulled the backing off that part, and then I put my hand down on the part where there was no back and I held it while I pulled the rest off. That way I didn't mess up moving it around to a new place, because it has to be pretty exact to make sure those mitered edges meet up correctly. I applied that transfer and added the next one, and then I just kept continuing all the way around. I wanted to leave these pictures in where I was trying to decide what design I would put on it because I wanted you to know that I rarely know what I'm going to do with something until I'm actually working on it. If you don't know what you want to do, but you kind of have an idea of different things you like and you want to put together, just start making it. What's the worst that can happen? You're going to make a mistake and you're not going to like it? Well, start over or paint over it or take some of it off or fix it. Keep going and keep using the things that you love. And when you put them together, eventually you're going to love what you have in the end. After applying all of those fun little stars, I gave it a good coat of Rust-Oleum 2 times clear matte to seal it. And here we go. Now please forgive me my treats. We're trying to be healthy. I am having so much fun with this new summer release from Iron Orchid Designs, and I hope y'all are having fun following along. If you are new here, welcome to my channel. I hope you will consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so you won't miss any more fun from Spindle Mountain Mercantile. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment on which item you liked the best. Also, if you could share this video on your social media, I would really appreciate it. My views are down a little bit, and I've heard sharing is the very best way to get more views. Also, let me know if you have any ideas for future videos. I'm always looking for new ideas and sometimes I can't think of some on my own. And I love a challenge too, so I'd love to know what you would like to see and I'll see if I can make it. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. Until you see me again next time, I hope you have a wonderful week. And as always, I hope you are blessed. Bye.